Yeah.
So
how do you, because everybody has ideas, right? And everybody goes, oh, this is the one, this is the $1 million one, right? How do you actually evaluate your ideas? What have you noticed are maybe the best practices to evaluate your ideas?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the way you've set this up makes sense, because actually, do you know what, like, everybody has ideas. Like, we're always having ideas, we're always writing them down if we're at a shower, like, oh, that's a great idea, that could be it. I think, I would probably say is like, probably one of the number one things really is to spend that time doing your research actually out there, like almost like build yourself a mini deck, like that's what I do with any idea that I want to validate. Build myself an investment deck. Like, is this investable from day one?
So do you see yourself as an investor, or preparing this to a potential investor?
Just preparing it for a fantasy investor.
Yeah.
Because you actually have to go through the process. So everything, like, what's the executive summary? Can I sum it up in 3 lines or whatever like that? What's the addressable market? Where could this go? What's the competitive research? Like if I bumped into an investor tomorrow and I had something to show them, this is how quality I would want it to be. And it gives me a really good angle then. I've done all my research, I get it. And that might only take a few hours, a few days to put together, but it kind of scratches that itch and gets you professionally thinking, like, whether it's a juice bar or a new $1 million app or something. Do your research. If there's 10 of these already, then maybe it's already been done or something. But if you feel like you've got something, then you go, oh right, okay. And that's, I think, one of those steps where a lot of people, myself included in the past, have come up with something. We like the idea, we think it's going to work, but maybe that early due diligence just hasn't been done yet. Do your work before you probably spend a penny on it, is what I would say.
Yeah. Is there an actual reason it's not done yet, right? And you don't actually need money, like to think about would an investor invest in this doesn't necessarily mean that you will need the money.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you were to do that, an investor will look at all those things. To be a viable business.
It's true. I mean, look, I ran this app called Beer Adventures.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, I love beer. I don't drink as much beer anymore now, unfortunately. As again, I'm not saying I'm some old man, but the older you get, the more hangovers you get. So I definitely don't drink in the week. But my idea is, beer tourism was a big thing. So I knew there was a wave, there was a trend, there was an industry. Mix that with travel, you've got an addressable market. Like, lots of people go on holiday every year, lots of people travel, lots of people love beer. Can you do this? So in my mind, bringing this out, the idea was, I'm blending 2 markets here. This is going to work. I bootstrapped to about 25,000 app downloads. Mainly through content marketing, mainly through SEO. Did some experiments with paid, but didn't really see much kind of like return on that. But I think the number one thing that for myself was business model. Going back to that first thing, doing yourself an investment deck. You don't have to have the business model fully figured out, but it's probably worth looking at 2 or 3 scenarios of what that business model could be, because it's going to change, but you do definitely need to make money. And that's one of the problems I had, was I tried 2 or 3 business models when I was in the weeds, when I'd earned investment, when I had staff, when I was going down this route, and it was difficult to kind of pivot in real time. To get that. So I think, just having almost those deep thoughts and thinking of it. And then if other people that are connected in terms of startups, in terms of smart brains or whatever, pull that out, share that investment deck with them. Have they got a startup? This is why it's really important to build up a big network. If you've actually been able to be, if you've actually got to be restrained with yourself, cut the fat off your investment deck, make it something people are actually going to read. Make it 12 pages, nice pictures, literally just the basic bullet points. Get that out there and get their opinion, because they're going to look at it more. You send them a 40-page business plan, they're just going to be falling asleep. They're not going to do it. So, get it, double validate, triple validate, maybe test with some of your market. Look, if beer fans who are going to go on holidays, it's worth checking in with them. Even if they're friends, they'll still tell you the truth. Would you use this?
This kind of thing as well is good, because you just, hey, come for a beer, right? And that's your market research.
Oh man, yeah, I've spent far too much at Cafe Beer Moth. Do you mean like that? Doing like kind of, app testing and stuff like that. But exactly, yeah, where you just literally like, right, well that's another bug we found. But is it because I've had too many beers? Another reason you've actually got to put it on there, it's like, you've got to also think about how this is going to work in real life. So whether you run a fintech or whether you run a sports business or whatever, you've got to almost think through in real life, like, what is the user experience going to be like? So for me, my app used to take people to 6 different bars, whether they're in Amsterdam, Copenhagen, Manchester. But the problem was that, people would check into the first bar, and then after half an hour they'd be pinged and they'd be taken to another bar. So they were going on a beer tour powered by an app. The problem was, once people start having a beer, they enjoy being in bar number 1 or bar number 2. They might have had too many beers and leave their phone on the bar or something. They've maybe dropped out and gone, oh, actually, do you know what I mean? I can't be bothered. Or even they can't use it when they've had too much to drink. So, you've got to think through these things, like what's that user experience going to be like? But, these are many kind of different ways you can kind of put that out.
You definitely have to do the unscalable, right? Like we do the same with Orfi Active. Like we go to the sessions, we actually see how they use the app and like when are they actually picking up the phone, when the payments are taking place.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really important. I think validation is so important. Do you know what I mean? Like I think if I was going to start another startup today or tomorrow, and there probably will be one at some point in the near future. I'm not saying near future, but like some point in the future. It's one of those things. I would definitely do my due diligence first. Spend plenty of time doing it. Think about it. Make sure that it's out in the market. Because at the end of the day, an idea, somebody might come along and steal your idea, and that's always the worry of entrepreneurs or startup founders. Like, oh, what if somebody else does? But it's bloody hard work to get it to market.